Hello, welcome to the AI Impact Masterclass. In this class, we will be navigating the AI economy or showing you how you can navigate the AI economy and leverage it to push up your finances in the present and also secure your financial future. Why finances? Because AI will affect how businesses operate, what jobs are available, what tasks that you can perform, what skill sets are relevant, which ones are obsolete. So in this class, we'll go through it through automation, augmentation, what functions are affecting your skill sets, your business, your job, whatever it is that you do. And by the end of it, you would have a plan on what area to look towards AI to augment, to automate, or where you could even possibly learn new skill sets. And if you have team members as a business owners, how you can support them in leveraging AI to scale whatever it is you do in your business. So I'm just going to share the slides and we'll get right into it. Alrighty. My name is Iberi Lisa. I am the founder of DBHQ and I have almost a decade experience in digital solutions consulting, from marketing to digital media to automation, business transformation, and even technology governance. I have been around the block a bit, and some of you who are attending this class probably would know me from my Fashion Enterprise Africa era, where I provided digital media marketing services exclusively to fashion businesses. It's been such a long journey, and that has a root in my journey into the digital space. I started a business way back in university in my third year, and by the time I was leaving university, I realized that my clients did not move with me. They were still present in school. And coming back home to Lagos, I could not sell to them as easily as I could when I was in school. And when my business folded, I decided that if I'm going to relaunch, I'm going to learn how to set up these platforms myself so that I will be able to sell and reach anybody anywhere. And I learned how to design websites, email marketing, all this in mind for running my business. And I had taken a digital transformation program earlier, but at the time I didn't just think it will all come together to become a service or a solution I would offer. But from one introduction to another, I started serving clients and I saw that this could be a promising pathway to follow. And I decided to go all in. 2 years into it, I worked at a media company, Genevieve Magazine, that was known for providing lifestyle content to women in Nigeria and in Africa. And from then on, I went full into consulting. And it's been an amazing experience. And in this class, I would be bringing together my knowledge across different digital solutions, but also focusing on how AI can benefit you, how we can move from fearing it or looking at it as a tool for displacement, but one that becomes leverage for you to attract opportunities, create opportunities for yourself. And below, you can see some of the companies I have worked with, either in consulting or in training. I am a trainer, speaker, teacher. I love teaching. I really do enjoy this part of my work. And this is the part of the work where it moves from just offering direct solutions and services to businesses to efficiently supporting those who are not able to hire our services, but arming them with knowledge enough to go into the market and arm their businesses, arm their career, have this superpower, like become a superman in their space, leveraging technology. And in this class, we are going to go through 6 main agendas: industrial revolutions and technological advancements, generative AI, large language models. What do they mean? What can they do for you? Its impact on jobs, whether in augmentation or automation, the impact of AI on industries, AI in business transformation, and of course, case studies of AI in action. Now, before we begin, I'd like you to adopt the mind of a futurist. Think like a futurist in this class. And there's one futurist framework that I really, really like, and it's called look back to see forward, or look back to look forward. And it's simply a process of, instead of just forecasting, right, you also backcast. So you bring data from 10 years in a specific topic, in a specific industry, and you take signals and notes from the things that have happened, say technology. We look at what has happened in technology in 2014, and we go to 2004, we go to 1994, and we track that and we bring that data together, see the pattern in the data, match it to what we are seeing in the present. And with that, we can say, these are the things that most likely happen in the future for good and for bad. It's not like a prophecy that this must happen. It's usually a case of, we are looking at the possibility of this happening, and we are looking at the best ways that we can protect ourselves, that we can take advantage of the opportunity, that we will not be displaced. right? So in this class, and generally in life and in business, I'd like you to adopt the mind of the futurist, because one of the best people that take advantage of technologies are the innovators. And innovators are usually the ones that see the change coming, they see the opportunities coming, and they either invest in it, they either build the solutions, or at the point it becomes available in the market, they take advantage of it. They don't sit back and cry, woe is me, this is coming to take over. They say, no, how do I take advantage of this opportunity? So as futurists, let's look at the industrial revolutions and technological advancements from the first to the fourth one. Now, the first industrial revolution offered us mechanization and steam power, and its impact was most felt in textile industries and railroads. And so this means that clothing could be produced faster, other forms of materials could be produced faster. Industrialization basically started in this era. And one of the most important part about business and communicating ideas is movement, is travel. Transportation made it easier to transport ideas, visions, theories, rhetorics from one nation to the other, from one part of the city to the other. Before, you'd have to travel days on foot, travel days on with your horse or your wheel, or your cart. It was difficult to move easily. Now you can move, and it wasn't requiring human effort. Before, to be on a horse, to be on any type of movement, it requires human energy to make it work with the support of an animal. And people would argue that it's animal abuse in a lot of ways. Now we finally had an engine that will not be tired. When it's tired, you can service it. If it's broken, you can fix it, you can replace it, but it doesn't have to threaten any life when it is moving, right? This made it easier to be able to move ideas, move businesses, move products. And one of the things that revolutions like this do is that it creates opportunity, it democratizes access at certain levels, really, because the access doesn't sometimes get to the bottom line. But this revolution made it easier for people to go into the middle class. We now had people who were managers of factories, managers of industries, managers and people who would work on trains. So it opened up a way for the divide between the rich and poor to have somewhere in the middle, people who could actually access a decent life. And if we move on to the second industrial revolution, electricity and mass production became the key theme of the second industrial revolution, and its impact was in manufacturing and in communications as well. So now we have moved from traveling from city to city to pass on information. We could actually just print. And then when we print, we are not sending one person to go to a city to speak. We can send our printed materials to go to different cities. We can use radio to communicate in different parts of the world. And this was another way to easily reach people. Opportunities again, you can move ideas, you can move products, you can move business solutions, you can move, even governments could position themselves as what leaders with this massive way of communicating. Rather than traveling from one continent to other to enslave them, you could easily just leverage your media platforms to be able to communicate. And this era was the era where individuals, where leaders like Martin Luther King could put their rhetorics, their belief systems, their agendas and their opinions and pass it on to a group of people and carry them along on a mission. It was much difficult to gather people and bring them together for a common vision. It was easier to do at this era because you could use mass media to reach as many people as possible. And we moved to the digital revolution of automation, which is in the third industrial revolution. This was where we could easily now communicate. We've gone from writing letters. We've gone from having to travel to pass on the letter. We've gone to calling in on radio to reach someone. We've gone to doing fax. Now we can actually send an email. Now we can make a telephone call. And beyond telephone calls and this third industrial revolution, I grew up in the Ninetel era, where we had a landline at home, and anybody who wanted to call you would have to call you at home. And your mom, your sister, your brother could pick up the phone and say, who is on the line? And then they'll tell you, and you have to wait for them. I know some older people grew up in a much retro technology era, but this was the era that I grew up in. And then they have to tell you that somebody's on the line waiting for you and you go take up the call. And I remember that when we traveled to my hometown, Nitel wasn't available. There was a prominent man in my own hometown that owned a telecommunications company and had a business center where you would go to make calls and receive calls. So if you had somebody in my hometown, that's where they would most likely go to take their calls. Now we move from that to having telephones at home, mobile phones at home, Nokia 3310, the Ericsson, the Bluebirds and Motorola's of that era. And gradually we now moved into the smart device era, where BlackBerry was the prominent device of that era. And gradually, again, we moved into the smart device, super smart device era, where you literally have a mini computer in hand every time. You can record content, you can send emails, you can write proposals, you can do a lot of things, a lot of business processes, you can communicate a lot of ideas on your phone. And if I use communication as an example again, now you can set up your camera and you can talk to thousands and millions of people from anywhere in the world. I am creating this class. I am teaching from my own space, and you don't have to be in my space. Imagine people in the first and the second industrial revolution doing this. Some futurists thought about it, some people wrote about it, some imagined it, became part of movie themes, but they didn't get to experience it. We were the ones that were born into this being a normal reality. And then we move into the next revolution, which is the one we are currently present in, where AI and IoT are leading, and we are feeling its impact in smart technologies, big data. And by smart, we are not talking smart where it is like a fixed system of being smart. It is smart in the sense that it's able to think up and generate ideas in real time, generate responses to your questions in real time. It could act on your behalf. It could perform tasks on your behalf. And this is quite an exciting era. And I know there are lots of woes in technologies, and I am not somebody who is not aware of that or never speaks on that. But in this class, I need you to see the opportunities and how far humanity has come. Because one thing is for certain, the people who are on the side where they don't leverage technology are usually the ones that are affected negatively, right? But the people who say, how do we leverage this? How do we create good, public good, social good, personal good, family good from this technology are better off in making decisions. If you don't play a part in this future, if you don't play a part in this present, if you stand by the side and say, oh, this is just going to cause harm, you're most likely going to be on the other side. Because one thing is that this change cannot be stopped. If you look at news, if you look at economic reports, you'd see that everything is in support of this change. So it's going to be hard for you as an individual or even a small group of people to come together and say, oh, we're going to stand against this change. Resist it, but don't resist it to the point where it affects your growth and process. You can resist how much effect it has on you, because it does have negative effects, how much effect it has on your family. You can set up policies for yourself and your use and consumption, especially for technologies that affect our social life. But when it comes to businesses creating opportunities, be on the side of using technology for good. You can be responsible, you can apply ethics in your use of technology, but make sure that you're also using it to scale your businesses and improve your profession. Because one thing for sure with smart technologies right now, it's easier to be smart, right? Your IQ can be improved. The rate at which you deliver on any solution can be way, way much better, more efficient, more high quality with the support of technology. Now, looking through this era, let's look at the somewhat negative side effects, the social impact of technology on society. And this time around, having spoken on the positive, I am looking at the negatives. Now, social inequality is something that always happens. And this is one of the reasons why I am creating this class, so that you are better prepared, you are aware of the change, and you can take advantage of it. There's always a social displacement, some sort of dislocation that happens to people across different social classes. But I want you to be the person who leverages this as an opportunity to move up or to maintain their social class. Let's say you're not somebody who is deep into building massive wealth. You just want to have enough to maintain your lifestyle and protect you and yours. You can do that, right? So social inequality is something that has been felt. If you do your research, people protested, religious organizations spoke up, individuals spoke up. We're even in a much better era where we are having conversations ahead of the change that is going to happen. And government leaders, business leaders, religious leaders are saying, how do we make sure that we use this technology for good and it doesn't displace people, it doesn't affect people, it doesn't cause a problem for us? Before then, it just happens and people are left with the consequences. So there's also job displacement, there is child labor. And one might even think that child labor ended with the industrial revolutions that had to do more with large machinery, not the digital innovations that we have today. Child labor still exists in the digital world. And in a way, it might even be made more appealing, more aesthetically pleasing. Look over social media, you see children working and their parents are the one putting them to work. I am not speaking against any parents, but that is a form of child labor. And then when you look through the process of creating technology from the landmines and a couple of other areas where children are actively working and how it relates to technological advancement. So that never really goes away. It's another thing that is present here. And loss of business also happens. BlackBerry couldn't keep up with the advancements in technology, and they lost their opportunity in the market. There are so many other businesses like Nikon, if you look through data on business evolution. Now, I don't want you to be that person who would lose their business, who would lose their career. That is why we are having this class. And all these things help increase initial panic and anxiety. If you have tech anxiety in this class between you and I, please throw it out the window, trash it. Tech anxiety has no space in this room. It has no place on the DBHQ and School of Business and Technology platform, because here you access information to be able to fast track your understanding of technology and create opportunities for yourself, right? We are not here to scare you. We don't do fear mongering. We are here to learn. So that initial panic, anxiety, people protest, journalists write positive and negative reviews about it, people will advocate, but eventually we get into an era of reinvention and adaptation. And usually the innovators, the people who see opportunities and take advantage of them, start this early. As a matter of fact, when I said you should be a futurist, you should be able to predict change before it even happens. And then you take advantage of the change, you lead the change, you bring that change as a solution to customers in different parts of the world at scale. That is one of the ways you can move from one social class to the other. For us in this class, let's look at reinvention and adaptation by learning. And in this era where we are in, where there's so much information, there's a need to reinvent, to learn really quickly, to commit to continuous learning. And it can be tiring. But if you look at it as a way to live life, if you look at it as a necessary function, as a characteristic of living, just as you breathe, as you eat, as you perform other functions for you to be well, look at learning as a necessary characteristics for you functioning and living well. And you will not have issues, right? And then when we reinvent, adapt, people now take advantage of the emergence of new job categories and businesses. A lot of times, the younger generation who are born into this revolution, are the ones who just move into it because it's not alien to them. It's not new to them. It's a reality they were born into. It's just like how I was born in the era where people had 9-to-5 jobs. They went to banks. They went to become a doctor. They went to be a teacher. I wouldn't know what it meant to have to go to a farm. I wouldn't know what it meant to have to trek miles to go to a secondary school. At the time I was born, I had to be taken in a car to move from place to place. I wouldn't know what it meant to be put at the back of a horse to get from one place to the other. The same thing happens to the children who are born today, who are born holding digital devices in hand, who are born knowing how to communicate without using any manual. They know how digital platforms work. They would better take advantage of these opportunities. But as a futurist who has seen this coming, as someone who most likely would be in their most functional years when this transition is happening, revolution is happening, you have to also make sure that you're seeing this change, you're adapting, and you're open for these opportunities. Now, we've talked about the social impacts. I have highlighted the benefits of AI as well. Let's get into understanding generative AI, what it is, what large language models are. And I'll keep it very simple in this class. Generative AI is basically an AI system that generates content, and content in video, in audio, in text format. Now, the text version, which is the most known, which is the most used at the moment, ChatGPT being an example, is actually an AI model that is trained with massive data sets, text-based data sets. So large language models are AI models that are trained based on massive data sets, and they are text data sets, right? And so because they are text data sets, most of the work we do today in the workspace, in the white-collar workspace, are language-based tasks. And what are language-based tasks? Language-based tasks are tasks that require you to process information, to relay information. And language-based models, large language models, LLMs, are now able to process, to take out information, to understand patterns in language. And so because of that, they can perform language-based tasks. What are examples of language-based tasks? Examples of language-based tasks are communication, business communications, HR, proposal writing, public speaking, information analysis and reporting, and so much more. Anything that requires you to speak, to write, to program. And large language-based tasks are not just written and spoken. It also involves programming. There's a pattern to where the communication runs. For instance, I say, what's your name? My name is Lisa. Where do you work? I work at XYZ. I have that information based on my experience to be able to answer those questions. Or maybe you want to buy a product from me and say this webcam. And then you ask me, what does this webcam do for me? What are its key features? I would already know what its key features, and I can say, oh, it's a HD webcam by Logitech, and it does XYZ. It helps you reach XYZ functions. It helps you get XYZ capabilities, right? In your business or in your live streaming. That data is already within my mind because I have studied it, or I have it written somewhere and I can use it to respond when a customer reaches out to me. The same thing applies to large language models. They have been trained with text-based data. And so when you type in a prompt and ask it a question, even when it's specific to a type of business, it's going to pull out an answer for you. Got it? Now, what are the examples, other examples? Data entry, being able to fill in a data and extract it, content creation as well. So let's say I want to make a content about how I started my business, and I have the blocks. I have the content blocks. I just don't know how to put it and tell the story in a way that it's enjoyable. I can tell AI to write a story for me based on this. And I tell it to write an adventurous story. I tell it to write a thrilling story. And the prompt may not always be perfect, and you keep refining it. And of course, you know that there's a bias with AI. So you want to make sure that you review it and what it's giving you. But you can even do video content. If you saw Sora when it came out and you see the quality of video content it was generating, even programming as well. We've already said that programming is also a part of large language language-based tasks, and large language models can perform it. So web developers are not necessarily safe, and I will get into that point where I share all that data with you. Now, LLMs and their impact on this task is something I have spoken on, which is they are able to do it more efficiently at the speed of thought. And now, as a business owner, imagine that you, as a professional, think of yourself as a business owner. If you have a staff who you could only reach by, say, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., right? And they are able to deliver on their work. Let's say they decide to leave you, and then you're bringing in somebody else. You have to train that person. You have to inform that person. You have to handhold that person to grow into a space where they can perform at the level the other staff who left was performing at. With AI, you can maintain a consistency, whether the person is there, whether the person is leaving. And so if you're a business owner, won't you hire this reliable staff that is always available for you 24/7? Of course, except when there is server issues, or there is some sort of issues at the back end for whatever service provider you are leveraging. Other than that, this solution is here for you, and you can pay for it and access it at a little fee, right? So because of that, it makes it difficult for the job roles that humans that you used to occupy to be as lucrative, as rewarding as it used to be. So there are impacts that, yes, there is the efficiency it provides. There's the fact that you do better work. You get to rest. You don't have to be on the grind. You may not even need to work 8 hours a week anymore on certain tasks. You may not need to spend 2-3 hours having to review. You come to decision making at a faster rate with the support of this technology. So these are some of the impacts it has. Now let's look at the categories of job exposure, for the ones that are high potential for automation, the ones that have low potential, and the ones that are not even affected at all. So you know where you fall in. And this is not just for career professionals. This also affects business owners, because if you have departments and teams within your business, you would know what teams need shrinking, what teams need support, what can your team members focus on doing more efficiently in order to keep your business growing, in order to bring in more revenue, in order to expand your business, your business in different parts of the world. This is the place where you get to understand that. So when I say automation, augmentation, low exposure, it's not just for people who are in the career space who are looking to make that transition. It's also for business owners who have team members. Even if you're a solo entrepreneur, it also highlights the things that you shouldn't be looking at doing by yourself anymore. You should look at leveraging technology to do for yourself. Let's get right into it. Now, this data is from World Economic Forum's large language model and jobs. And I also take some data from World Economic Forum's The Future of Jobs report. And if you look on this, you can see that the jobs with the highest amount of work time that are potentially to be performed by LLMs, which are large language models, are credit authorizers. credit checkers, and credit clerks. There's also management analysis, telemarketers, statistical assistants, tellers, forensic science technicians, receptionists and information clerks, production planning and sorry, I can't see that clearly. Expediting clerks, file clerks, word processing, and typists. Some of these job roles still exist in certain companies and in certain parastatals, bookkeeping, accounting, and auditing clerks as well. So if you notice that it's really about those who perform administrative tasks, it is their jobs that are most at risk when it comes to automation. These can be automated. Loan and investment clerks as well, bill and account collectors as well, because AI can automate these processes. Let's look at augmentation. The jobs with the highest potential for augmentation: insurance underwriters. Have you noticed the pattern that at the top of the list, you find finance or finance-related roles at the top of the list? That is to say, tell you what I explained about large language models being that they are able to process and deliver on language-based tasks. Finance is one of those industries that has so much text-based data. And so you have this large language model that is able to take data, pattern it and understand it enough to be able to perform those jobs, those tasks way better than a human. So that is why automation is most active in the finance space. Of course, not everywhere in the finance industry, not in every role in the finance industry. They are just mainly administrative roles. Insurance underwriters, bioengineers and biomedical engineers have some level of augmentation as well. Mathematicians, editors. And editors are one that I knew that augmentation was really going to come in when it comes to writing content, creating content, proofreading content, seeing if the content matches with the theme for either the production or for the magazine content that is coming out. It makes it easier to review and say, oh, this is what we are looking at doing this month. Does this content align with it? You can use it to easily get your work done. And this is something I have done in different ways. Insurance appraisers and auto damage, people who work in auto damage as well, graphic designers are in for a huge augmentation and not automation. And I think this one really caught my eye, because one would think that all these AI generation platforms where you just go and then you type in your prompt and it generates a flyer for you. If you've seen one of those flyers and you've seen a flyer that a graphic designer, a brand designer that understands communication, where to place text, where to highlight, what colors to use and all of that, you see that there's a clear difference. You see how generic it still is. And while it provides some sort of use, while it can be used when you're starting out, there's a level of point you get into business and your communications. You need to make it more unique and specific to your brand and to the customer. So shout out to graphic designers who leverage AIs for augmentation. There's also operation research and analysis as well. So those who work in that department would be able to leverage AI for augmentation. And now, jobs with the lowest potential for exposure: educational guidance, career counselors and advisors, clergies. Are you seeing the pattern? These people are present in a space, and they're not just present because they are performing a job function. Their presence, their persona, how they communicate is a key important for the customer or for the audience that they serve. So AI can prepare lesson notes. AI can help in grading students, but AI cannot be the teacher in the classroom. We are not there yet. Maybe in the future, some sort of sci-fi themed future where AI now gets a container in the form of a robot or any other function, or maybe a human-like robot. Maybe that can happen. But in the meantime, we still need humans to be able to work in this space. So it has low exposure, it has low potential. This might change in the future. That's another thing. It might change in the nearest future as technology keeps advancing and as society also accepts and adopts this technology. But in the meantime, this is what it is. This report was from last year. And there are packages and paralegals and legal assistants also they are the least exposed also. And this is because when it comes to legal activities, understanding the law, you can't just process data. There's a huge part that requires you to understand certain ways that different departments, different industries, different national laws and policies work. Sometimes it is international. So you can't just hand that to AI and say specifically, I want X, Y. It can help you in preparing legal materials, but it would never replace you in doing the job or in standing in court or in offering advice. Farm and labor contractors, architects, athletes, sports competitors, these ones will never be replaced, because let me not say never. Let me take that back, because saying never takes out the possibility that we might have like a technology enhanced part of sports. I have seen some research, I have seen some plans within the space to make that happen. So let me not say never, but in the present, within the foreseeable future, let's say within the next 2-3 years, this is what the World Economic Forum has said, that these are the jobs with the least exposure. And mental health and substance abuse social workers, again, this depends on personal relationships. And if you notice, the key factor driving this are critical thinking, creativity. Because when you're communicating and dealing with people one-on-one, when you're processing information that doesn't just work on A plus A equals A square, right? When it requires you to think, what are the possibilities that the A here is not a small letter A? What if it's not just capital A square, right? For you to think outside of the box, for you to access the environment, access the person, assess the situation. These are the people who have jobs that have low exposure. And of course, people who are not even affected at all also exist, and we'll get to that part. Now, if you notice that the task that are most affected, or the tasks when it comes to automation, are tasks that are clerical tasks again, that the data is clearly defined and there's a pattern to accessing that information. There's also tasks that are for augmentation. So and if you notice a key theme for tasks that are augmentable are tasks. If you notice, a key task for tasks that are going to be automated are tasks where there is a consistent way of following a pattern, where you say, I need this information, and that information is already documented somewhere. It just needs to be extracted. It might not even be documented, but someone can document it, and over again, that data will be extracted. The ones that are augmented are the ones that will require some form of creativity, some form of critical thinking. The ones with low exposure tend to do more with human and personal relationships that technology is not able to perform at the moment. And the ones that are not even exposed at all are the ones that require the physical strength of humans, right? The presence, the physical presence. Remember, we are not just talking about AI being put in a robot or AI put in other functions. We are talking about large language models, generative AI, and this is digital. You don't have a digital AI serving you at a restaurant. You might have seen robots making meals serving at restaurants. That is not generative AI. That's a different type of AI. So in this class, we are focusing on digital one that is able to perform certain functions. Now, this visualization shows us industries that are going to be impacted most when it comes to automation and augmentation. And on top of the list, finance happens to be there. And if you look through the list, you see more other industries that are going to be impacted and to the rate that they will be impacted. Also, do let me know if you'd like to get this as a case study. I plan to send it to everyone who attends this class. But if you would like to get a case study on this class so that you can take your time to review it, go at your own speed, because I know I'm saying a lot of things fast in order to put this in a short time, do let me know. I'll share details on how you can reach me towards the end of the class. Now, jobs exposure versus growth potential. This is another way that you can rate what you're doing and see if there will be demand in the coming years. Now, if you look, you'll see the declining, the stable, and the growing. And there's also high augmentation, low potential for exposure, and high automation. If you look at the growing, when it comes growing job opportunities and the ones that have highest augmentation, we can see mathematicians, we can see statisticians, we can see graphic designers, database analysts. And then when we move to the stable demand for jobs and its growth potential, we can see training development specialists, we can see regulatory and government associates, that is stable, we can see management and organization analysis. And one of the interesting things when it comes to government and government associates and professionals and regulatory associates, when I started learning technology governance, got into technology diplomacy, I didn't think that that would be the area where professionals who work in that space will be wondering how AI might function in the space, might replace some functions and some roles within that department. Because regulatory policies, regulation at the government level, at the intergovernment level, I feel it's a complex process or type of work. So a lot of times it requires more carefulness, more thought, more communications with the different parties involved. But even there, AI is automating and augmenting certain roles. So there's a stable demand, there's a stable great potential, but we don't know if that will change and how that will change in the future. There's a company that trended, I can't remember their name right now, for making AI CEO. I would read through that and even make content about it on the DBHQ page. So on the declining, we see insurance underwriters, web developers, sales and purchasing agents and brokers, authors and journals. These roles or these tasks have opportunity for high augmentation, right? But then again, they are declining because if you augment it and you augment a certain percentage of it, you don't need as many people as possible. So if you had a 13-man team before, today you can have a 10-man team that are empowered by different AI solutions to do their job efficiently. And if we move into low potential, secondary school teachers are declining, paralegals and assistants are declining, and that's because the way we teach is changing and the way information is being curated is also changing, right? The stable arm for low potential for exposure. We are going to see manufacturing, mining, construction. This is stable because, again, generative AI and augmentation or automation cannot move into mines to mine. Somebody needs to get in there. Lawyers, human resource specialists, farm workers, and laborers, this need physical strength, this needs physical presence to be able to achieve them. So digital solutions don't solve that. They augment, they support that, right? So there's university and higher education teachers, there's personal care workers in health space, vocational education teachers. These ones are growing. Our health is important. Until there's an AI doctor, we will have to depend on the human doctors that we have. And then at the bottom, we can see highest potential for automation. And again, the finance industry is leading bank tellers and related clerks, telemarketers, accounting and bookkeeping, administrative and executive secretaries, data entry clerks, which are usually, if you go into companies or you look at company hierarchies, you see that they are at somewhere at the bottom, and they actually occupy an important role where they are the first person you meet as you walk into the company. So what this is saying is that we might not need so many of those roles anymore. You might not need to hire so many of those people anymore. And if you do any job function within the space, it's time you start thinking about your future and how you can up-level your skills, how you can relearn and position yourself, or how you might even decide to go into entrepreneurship, leveraging AI to power any other thing that you intend to launch. Maybe it's a product or it's a service, or even building an AI solution for yourself. Especially if you understand how your industry works, how your market works, you might be the best AI solution provider in that space. More about this later. And of course, securities and finance dealers and brokers, there's high automation. So that is growing. And these are the people that interact one-on-one. They are not the ones that it has high automation and there's a demand for it. So these are the people that interact one-on-one. They are not the ones that used to sit back. But now even that function can be automated. So that means there's a chance that that will also decline. And except you're closing certain deals with high net worth individuals, except you are at certain level of partnerships, if you are the entry level, it might be more difficult to get in. It might be more difficult to make yourself the appealing candidate for such roles because companies may not be hiring for such roles anymore. So let's look at a good example on exposure for software developers who are more exposed and human resource managers who are less exposed. So you can see automation augmentation play a role. So there's high potential for automation when it comes to analyzing data to improve operations for a software developer. There's higher potential to analyze performance of systems and equipment. This can be automated. Now for HR, determine the resources needed for project operations, managing budgets. This can be automated. Where you would need to augment it would be preparing information or instructional materials as a developer, because it has to be, you have to review it. You have to make sure that it's in line with what you are speaking on or what you are guiding people on, what the instructional manual should cover. You also have to evaluate characteristics, the usefulness, the performance of product technologies. You have to sit down and experience it as a human, go through that customer journey. So that area would be supported by technology, but not completely left to automation. For HR, explaining regulations, policies or procedures, training others on operational or work procedures. You would need AI to augment it, maybe creating the manuals, tailoring the manuals to certain departments or different ways that people learn so that it's easier for people to come on board and get right into their work, right? But you still need to be able to interact with people, to be able to speak to people, to communicate with them, to be able to do this. You even need to review the training manuals as well. You'll be able to look at it to be sure that it's in line with what you want your employees to have. Now, the areas that are for lower potential for augmentation and automation, this ones still requires you as a human to do. As a software developer, to coordinate others. Remember, personal interaction, physical interaction, connecting with human beings. Digital solutions can do that. Whether it's AI, whether it's an automated solutions, it just can't do that yet. So being able to interact with people, being able to lead on projects, being able to communicate solutions, being able to communicate business strategies, and making sure that this product that we are developing is in line with what the brief the customer has given us. AI would not be the one doing that. Humans still needs to do that. So people at high managerial levels will end up managing not just people, but also managing technology in certain roles, right? And then if you look at HR, we see that interviewing people, obtaining information, coordinating group and community and public activities are having low exposure, right? And even interviewing people, there's a place where AI plays, and that is in reviewing your resume, reviewing your cover letters, scouring through social media to see if you have anything implicating or anything that makes you an unworthy potential or unworthy talent for the role that you're applying for. But the part where they speak with you, they access you, they ask you certain questions that are not things that can be easily patterned by a large language model, a human still needs to perform in this function. And in this case, it's a HR professional. So if you work or you're aspiring to get into this level or these positions, this is a guide that can help you understand what functions are closing up and which ones are opening more. And if you're a business owner, this now tells you that you need to brief up your AI. If you run a software development agency or you're looking to get into software development, you can get there faster by allowing AI automate what is automatable, augmenting what is augmentable, and then performing the tasks that are uniquely for your human intelligence. Okay, and this last visualization shows job groups with the highest exposure. So you can see the occupations: IT and technology, finance, customer sales, operations, human resources, marketing, legal, supply chain. None of them is left out. There's a potential for augmentation, automation, and low exposure across all boards. And this is why, as much as there are opportunities for roles in AI, specifically in the AI economy, AI industry, most of these functions that we already perform in businesses today will still be here. The mood, the model, the process will basically change. But then it doesn't mean that it's completely eliminated. But some people who perform certain functions will have to go away. And some people who are able to scale up will go away as well, will come in or maintain their positions. And this is why I said to you at the beginning that you need to think like a futurist. You need to be the one who is leading this change. You need to be able to think ahead, because one thing is obvious. It's not AI itself that will come to your job and displace you. It's not AI that will come to your manager and say, displace this person. It is the person who has access, who has learned how to adapt, who has learned how to lead change, who can maximize their potential or whatever it is they do, their skills and their expertise or their business by using AI. That is the person who is going to displace you. That's the person who's going to take your job. As much as I've spoken a lot about automation, and a key buzzword in this era is automation, automate everything and go to sleep, we are very much in the augmentation era, where AI becomes your superpower, where it helps you do things more efficiently, where it helps you get results, where it helps you execute at the speed of thought. That is where we are. And so if you're able to tap in, if you're able to learn and accept AI, you will be one of those people who are moving up and not being socially displaced. So let's look at AI in action. AI for augmenting job roles, emerging job roles. And interestingly, I think along somewhere in this teaching, I have covered this in different formats, but let's speak more on it in this case. So AI for augmenting job roles, emerging job roles. Let me take emerging job roles first, and then I'll go to AI for augmenting job roles and AI for business transformation. Now, AI for augmenting emerging job roles. Of course, there are developers specifically dedicated to AI. They are now ethics specialists, especially in countries where regulatory policies require you to build responsible technology. In some parts of the world, those departments are not actively functioning or they don't even exist. But in the EU, in America, there are certain rules, data protection that you have to apply, that you have to agree to. And so because of that, companies are hiring data governance, AI specialists, ethics specialists to guide them in making sure that they use technology responsibly and they are not abusing their access to people's data. So this role is really opening up, but I am not one to actively push for ethics, even though I have studied it, even though I'm experienced in it and offer solutions in it. Why? Because a lot of times capitalism does not favor social responsibility. It does not favor ethics. They will always choose profits over public good. And I don't say this to justify what is done. Again, as a futurist, if you study the patterns for every form of revolution, every type of company, leave it out of technology, go into oil and gas, go into food, go into healthcare, you will see that a lot of times the damage is already done before they start fixing the problem. And so people are already casualties. So a lot of times, people who work in ethics roles are usually unsatisfied. They are upset that the companies they represent might not be able to agree or go in the line of what is good. And a lot of times they also get displaced because their views and what they want the company to do sometimes are in opposite direction. So ethics might not be the best place for you if you're not willing to turn a blind eye to certain things. Where I see social responsibility being more effective is in people actually taking personal responsibility. And this is one of the reasons why I'm creating this class, to educate people on automation and augmentation. While it is good to say that nations, business leaders should train their people, should empower them for this change that is here and more that is to come, it is not the most reliable system to function as a human. There has to be the government of you, the company of you, who thinks about your well-being, who thinks about your progress. And so you create your own governing policies on how you to make sure that this technology does not affect you negatively, and then you use it positively for you and your household. So ethics is a good space to work in if you're about public good, but the roles available in the ethics space might not be a lot, because a lot of times companies are not willing to hire a lot. Again, it's in a way a language task. Most of it is a language task. So they might not even hire a lot of people in that role. They might not hire a lot of people in the department. It might just be 1 or 2, 3 people. And these are usually for companies that actually want to take social responsibility, and companies that a lot of times there are consequences for their actions. For the other companies that might not be known, that there might not be consequences, they might just find one small agency to consult with for this to become a solution. So these roles might not be opening up. And even some larger companies are already in consulting partnership with big consulting agencies as part of their offerings to them. So the best way I would recommend is to look at other opportunities that are within your control in terms of using technology, whether for personal use or for your career or for your business. Now, other roles are development in the AI space, building AI solutions. People are now specifically developing AI platforms, learning how to code AI platforms. And this is something you might want to go into, learning how to build LLMs. And there are also content creators. That one is one of the most rewarding and one of the most easy to enter. When I say one of the most rewarding, is because media and access and visibility are things that businesses will always need, or individuals will always need. So there's always a premium to be paid when you hack access, when you hack visibility. So content creation is another space. But I don't want you to just look at the areas that are coming up within AI. A far more interesting way to do this is in whatever it is you've done. Because if you're going to take this part, if you're not in secondary school, you're not in university where you're just building out your knowledge. If you already are experienced, say you're in your 30s, you're in your late 20s, you're possibly in your 40s, and you already have certain experiences. I'm not saying you can't learn, but it might be challenging to learn. It might be challenging to get to the zero ground of this and start building up in learning. However, in whatever it is you do, in whatever experiences that you have, there are ways that AI, that automation, that augmentation can support you. And if you look through the visualizations I shared with you, you would see that. So now let's look at AI for augmenting jobs and AI for business transformation. I'll give an example after I go through this last slide because it's part of my case studies. Now, improved efficiency is one of the benefits when you leverage AI for business growth. You can be 100% efficient for certain tasks. You might even reach you move from customer satisfaction to customer delight with a consistent result, right? Every time that they deliver. So let's say you have somebody in customer care and they have an AI to support them. At the point where the information or the customer's query or request comes to their table, AI has already filtered, answered questions, provided information. So as a customer is coming, they already know what problem they will solve with their human intelligence. There's also enhanced productivity. Your team members will not be chained, or even you as a team member in a company or as a manager or as a leader, you would not be chained to a particular role doing tasks that are repetitive. That can be put into a large language model, and then it will pattern it and generate that answer for you every time that you need it. You can also monitor behavior, market shifts, capitalize on new opportunities. You can now use your human intelligence to ideate. When you get data on customer behavior, you can now move into creating new products. And this allows you increase revenue. This allows you expand your business. You can use customer feedback to create new solutions, to innovate around your existing solutions and move from customer satisfaction to even customer delight. Now, let's talk about the case studies within AI for business growth. And as I said, I'm going to tie it right back into how AI will impact jobs or how AI and augmentation can be leveraged for jobs. And one example that I like to give is an experience I had recently, say about a month ago, with Amazon Web Services, AWS. So AWS is my host for my email marketing solutions for clients and for DBHQ as well. And if you use AWS, you know that sometimes you have the needs to chat with the customer care representative for one issue or the other. And I had a similar case like that. And for the first time, I realized that I couldn't chat customer care directly. I couldn't type in my query. It provided me this interface where I put in my query as a chat prompt, and then the AI will pull up data, pull up information, pull up blog posts that had been written that are specific to the question that I had. And then I asked a particular question and it told me that I needed a human agent. It didn't specifically say human agent, I am paraphrasing, but it meant that I needed to speak with a human agent to be able to solve that problem. And then it gave me a link that I had to click on. And on that link, I had to sign up for customer service for a human agent to attend to me. Now, whether we should be paying for customer service when you're buying a solution or not, it's a different debate and a different conversation. But this has basically changed what customer service as a service means. Now, if you are aware about the customer service model that exists for certain agencies in different parts of the world, especially in countries where labor is cheap, India, some parts of Africa, and even some parts of Asia as well, you would realize that what companies do, large companies do, is to outsource their communications, their customer service management to those agencies in these countries where they can access more affordable labor. But now it means that if a company needed 100 customer service agents before, now it might just function well with 20, with 50, with 30, depending on the queries that they have from customers. And this is what we're experiencing with AWS. Now, I'm not saying that AWS outsources its services because I'm not certain of that, but the process basically showed me what could happen in other businesses. And so this means that if you provide customer service, you need to start thinking towards how this level of automation within businesses might affect the demand you get from them and how you can go ahead, be the leader of the change and offer this solution within your own business to the customers that you already partner with. Now, for this human agent that I needed to access, when I looked at the packages and the offerings, it meant that most of the problems will be solved directly by the engineer or by the professional who has the skill set to solve them. If you've ever been on any software as a service platform where you needed to put in a query, you would see that they would tell you, hello, Lisa, welcome today. My name is, say, John. How can I help you? How can I solve your business problem? John is an English name. Let me find an Indian name. Prasant. I don't know if I got the pronunciation right, because that's the last person that attended to me. And then you say, my name is Prasant. How can I attend to you today? What are your queries or what problems you have? And then you impute that, and if it's something that has been written about, they will say, oh, here's a link for you to see how you can fix this problem. If they don't hear from you for some minutes after sharing that link with you, they will ask you if you've been able to solve the problem, if you still have other questions. And if you don't respond, they might close the chat. If you respond, they'll find a way to solve your problem again. Now, what this means is that AI can do all of that. And to the point where you now need somebody with specific knowledge to be able to solve your problem, the query will now go directly to the person with the specific knowledge. So what we now have is your engineer can work in your customer service department. And these are for businesses that offer software as a service solution to customers. Now, if you're someone who works as a customer care service provider, where you used to be the one to take the call, gauge the mood of the client, speak to them in a certain way, type in your response in a certain way, AI can now do that. So that means that your job is at risk because they would need less of your services and have AI do most of them. Again, AI is available 24/7. Time zone worries, currency differences, policy differences, all these things can be taken care of by one technology. What can you do? You can level up. You can learn how you can move into the managerial level where you are doing beyond language-based tasks, where you're the one overseeing both the technology and the humans working in the department. I don't know where you are and how fast you can get that done. Or you can be the one who learns how this AI, now that you've worked in customer care and you know the chain, you know the different roles, how can you use AI to create a solution for the market? How can you pitch AI as a solution for customer care for businesses that need such services? See? This is how you can do it. And this cuts across operations and sales and marketing, because for some customers, for them to buy a service from you, they'll have questions before they even make the purchase. Frequently asked questions based on the purchase can be listed or can be put together as a data and used to train an AI model if you're a business owner. And that automatically means that for every customer query that relates to sales, there's a response. And on the point where a sales representative, a marketing representative is needed, then they can present themselves and then use their human intelligence to be able to convert this customer. But at the primary level, AI can do a whole lot. This changes your operations, this changes sales and marketing, this changes the process through which businesses are able to acquire customers, keep them, and serve them. I hope you are seeing this as a bigger picture. There's a whole lot I want to say more, but I wanted to keep this class really short. And so the next steps, if you have any question regarding AI, you can send us an email. I'll share our email shortly. But for business owners who are looking to leverage automation or augmentation in their business, you want to train your staff, you want to transform how they do their work, you want to be able to move from problem to solution real fast, you want to move at the speed of thought, you can sign up with us. Just head over to eln.to/discovery call to book a discovery call. It's free. We'll sit with you for 30 minutes to understand your business operations, where you're looking to automate, where you're looking to augment, where there are opportunities. And if there are none, if there's low exposure, we'll be glad to tell you that as well. And we'll be happy to serve you. If you're a career professional, an entrepreneur, creator, solopreneur, freelancer, looking to see how AI automation and other technologies will be able to fast track whatever you do, give you that superpower to bring your solutions to the world, join the Leverage Center. The Leverage Center is our email newsletter where we cover AI advancements, AI business models, how AI, other technologies are being plugged into businesses. And if you remember, I did say that it's important that you don't just look at AI as something new. Look at it as something that can elevate what it is you do, because today might be AI, tomorrow it might be the next thing. Today might be generative AI, tomorrow it might be the next thing. One thing for sure is change keeps happening. And while we are in our youthful era where we're still able to sell our solutions and ideas, where we're still trying to build wealth, it's important that you keep you stay in the know and you keep up with change. So sign up to our newsletter by going to eln.to/leverage center. And if you have any questions whatsoever, contact us at office@minddbhq.com. Our website is minddbhq. Our social media handles across all platforms is MindDBHQ as well. I hope you have learned a thing or two that's going to impact how you navigate AI, how you leverage it to create opportunities for yourself in the present and secure your financial future. My name is Ebere Lisa. It's been a pleasure teaching in this class. There'll be more workshops, more teachings, and if you're part of the Leverage Center, you'll be able to get information as to when it's happening. I look forward to actually doing a live class where we can interact and I can take your questions in real time. Also, do let me know if you don't receive the case study as promised, and we'll send it across to you. Do have a lovely day. Goodbye.